In this video, we're going to use the triangle for speed, distance and time to find the formula for speed, the formula for distance and the formula for time. So you may already know that speed is the distance travelled divided by how long it takes you to travel that distance. And we simplify that down with S for speed, D for distance and T for time to give us the formula S equals D over T. Now if your maths is very good, you'll be able to transpose this equation to get S as the subject so that it's S equals, and change it so you can get D equals, and change it so that you can get T equals. If your maths is not so good, my suggestion is that you use this triangle here. And this triangle has all the letters that we need. We've got speed, distance, and time. To remember which letter goes in which position in the triangle, there are a couple of ways that you can do that. So if you list all of the speed, distance, and time that we've got in alphabetical order, like I've done here, you can see that D comes first, then S, and then T. And in our triangle, when we look over here, it's written in alphabetical order as if you were reading it across a newspaper or a book. So it's distance, then speed, then time. So you can use the idea that they're in alphabetical order in the triangle. The other way that you can remember it is that most of us know that you measure speed in kilometres per hour. Now normally you would write kilometres per hour side by side like that. What that actually represents is a fraction, but it's written sideways. It actually represents kilometres over hours. And so what we've really got is a D on the top and a T on the bottom. And so when you put it into your triangle, you've got speed is kilometres per hour. Different way to remember it. So to actually use the triangle, what you do is you cover the letter for the thing you want to calculate. So if we wanted to find speed, what we would do is we would write S is equal to, speed is equal to, and then we would cover it. And we would look at what remains in the triangle, and the D is up above the T. And so our formula that for S follows that exact same pattern. The D sits up above the T. So let me go through that again. If you're after speed, find the speed. So we cover up the speed, where S equals to, cover up the speed, and then the rest of the triangle looks like D over T. And that's our formula, D over T. If we wanted to find the distance, we write D equals, D for distance equals, and then we cover up the D. And it looks like in the rest of the triangle that the S and the T are side by side. And that is how we write the formula, side by side. And what that means is that we multiply the speed multiplied by the time. And then finally, if we wanted to find the time, we write T is equal to, time is equal to, we cover up the T, and you can see that you've got D above the S. And that's the way we write the formula, D above S. And so to find the time, we're going to take the distance and divide it by the speed. Let's have a go at writing some of these formulas. So here are some questions to do. The very first thing we need to do is to find out what the question is asking us to find. So let's have a look at the first question. The first question says a bike travels 60 kilometres in 4 hours. What is the cyclist's speed in kilometres per hour? So we actually have to find the cyclist's speed in kilometres per hour. That's what we're asked to find. Let's have a look at the next question. What is the average speed? That's an easy one. So this time we're asked to find the average speed. Now the average speed is just the speed. Okay, so it's just the speed of the car. Let's have a look at the next question. How much time? Easy one. This one we're looking for time. How much time? And then the last question, how much time would it take? Again, easy. We're asked to find time. Okay, so that's the first thing we need to do for a question. We need to figure out what the question is asking us to find. The second thing that we need to do for the question is to write the formula for the thing that we're asked to find. So we're going to need to use our triangle, our distance on the top, let's do them alphabetical, D, S, T. We're going to use our triangle for each of these questions. So in the first question, we're asked to find speed. So to do our formula for speed, we write S for speed equals, S is equal to, and then we cover up the S in the triangle and it looks like D over T. And so that will be our formula, D over T. Let's do the other formulas and then we'll come back and work out what to do next. So in the second question, we're asked to find the average speed. So again, that's an S. So we can write S is equal to, we cover up the S in the formula in the little triangle and it looks like D over T. So that's what we write for our formula, D over T. For our third question, how much time? So we write T for time equals, then we cover up the T in our triangle and it looks like D over S. And so that's what we write. And then the final question that we've got on here, how much time? So again, how much time? So we want time is equal to, we cover up the T in the formula and we've got D over S, D over S. Okay, so normally in a question, that's the second thing that you would do. And then the final thing that you would do is you would substitute in your values. So we'll go through the questions and see if we can find some values. A cyclist travels 60 kilometres. 60 kilometres. There's a value, 60 kilometres. That sounds like a distance to me. And so in our formula, our D will be 60. So our formula is going to be 60 over something. So let's continue having a look at what we've got in our question. So we had a bicyclist travels 60 kilometres in 4 hours. 4 hours pretty much sounds like a time to me. And so we're going to put our time as 4 hours. I'm just going to write hours here. And for the distance, I'm going to write kilometres because that's what it was. And so what we've got here, we can do the calculation of 60 divided by 4, which is 15. And our units that we're going to use for our speed are our units that we had for distance, kilometres, divided by, see how it's divided by here? It's like kilometres over, let me get this right, it's like kilometres over hours. So our distance is kilometres, our time is in hours, so our speed is 15 kilometres per hour. Let's have a look at the second question. We've got a formula for speed. Let's read through the rest of the question and see what else we've got. So we've got what is the average speed of a car that travelled 500 kilometres? Sounds like a distance, that's 500 kilometres. So we'll put that in as our distance, 500 kilometres. So travelled 550 kilometres in 6.5 hours. So 6.5 hours sounds like a time, and so I'm going to put it in as a time. So I'm going to use my calculator to do 550 divided by 6.5, and when I do that I get 84.615, and my units are kilometres per hour. Now, the question didn't ask me how many decimal places, so I'm just going to put it to 3 decimal places. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to pause the video and have a go at these 2 questions here, and then unpause the video and see how you went. Okay, so how did you go? Did you get your distance of 1500 metres divided by your speed of 330 metres per second? Now, when you're working with a speed units in your calculation as well, you need to make sure that the distance units are exactly the same. In the next video, I'll show you how to do it if they're not, but these ones just happen to be the same. And so they kind of cancel each other out, and you're just left with seconds for your answer. In the last question, we've got an average speed of 790 kilometres per hour, a distance of 4,700 kilometres. These kind of cancel each other out, and we get 5.94 hours. We're almost finished that question because the last bit of the question says round your answer to the nearest hour. I shouldn't say hours, hour. So that should be, and I shouldn't put equals, I should put these wavy things that says approximately equal to 6 hours. Here are a few questions that you can try. Just pick a few. Use your speed, distance, time triangle, and then when you're ready, press play again and check your answers. Here's the answers. How did you go? You just need to make sure with your calculating your distance questions that if you've got questions like question 6, where you've got a time unit of seconds and a time unit of minutes, that you make sure, so see when you substitute in, you get divided meters per second and 3 minutes. We need to make sure that they're both in the same time units. So you can see here I turned 3 minutes into seconds, and then I can work it out. If they're not in the same units, you won't get the correct answer. So always check if you're working with substituting in a speed, that whatever either your distance units or your time units are in fact the same.